let's go ahead, move on to the news. Only one thing tickled my fancy in the news these last 2 weeks, and that, of course, is Hyperkin, who is the greatest company of 2017 for sure, and they announced a Famicom to NES converter, which is a obviously simple device. It's an adapter that lets you play Famicom games on your NES or any NES clone or whatever. What I love about this is it's $13, which is amazing. And comes out December 14th. I have the Retro USB AVS, which is the FPGA NES system that has a Famicom slot as well as an NES slot, so I don't actually need this. But because I have that Retro USB AVS, I actually can play Famicom games. And weirdly enough, I picked up Rockman 3. It was sitting on the shelf at my local retro shop for $10, and I'm like, oh, I'll take Mega Man 3 for $10. And then I went on eBay, and you can buy like Rockman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for $120 on eBay. So $20 a game, which is so much, it's vastly cheaper than the NES versions of these games. Some of them I think are well over 50 at this point for the US version.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Famicom library is filled with games that are a fraction of the price if you buy the Famicom version instead of the NES version. So for people that maybe are more hardware purists or aren't going to drop $200 on a retro USB AVS, a $13 converter that is brand new and is going to work is kind of awesome.
It's crazy. I know you can get some NES carts that the 5-pin ones, right?
Yeah, 5 screw, and then the pins I think have to be off center, and that's how you know. Or maybe it's centered, one of the two.
Yeah. And as a reseller, we have to be cautious that we don't accidentally, because they do make the game slightly more valuable. So we always got to check that. But obviously, this is a much better solution than a weird little jutting piece of plastic.
Let me go into my lab and cannibalize carts every time I want to switch games.
Yeah.
I don't know what other option. I know this isn't a new concept, and I'm sure tons of these exist. I don't know how much they go for, but Hyperkin is a brand I would trust. And for $13.
Well, it's just really exciting to see that there's a big enough market for somebody to be doing this. And if it's, if you end up with 1 or 2 players, that's fine. The quality seems to be there, and it's exciting to know that in the future, there may be solutions from these providers for failing disk drives on your Xbox, or, something along those lines. There's always going to be some market that they can take advantage of. That
Hyperkin could be the ones making, the thing that goes into the Saturn MPEG card slot. It could be the Hyperkin Saturn, SD adapter.
Yeah. It's
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know why that never dawned on me, but you're right. So anyway, I picked up Rockman 3, aka Mega Man 3, for $10, and that means at some point next year I'm probably going to do a Mega Man marathon.
Nice. That's a good marathon.
Yeah, one of the listeners kind of said, why don't you do marathons? And so that's what I'm going to try and start doing. So I did Sonic Advance 2, working on the next 2 Game Boy Advance games, and then I'll kind of move on from there. I plan on doing Rayman 2 and 3 next year. I would love to do the next 2 Gex games. That would be really neat. But I'm going to try and follow that and see what that does with the algorithm. And being able to do it with a Famicom instead of the NES games would make that a lot cheaper.
Yeah, the Mega Man series, for the NES releases, every single one has something they've tweaked. The first 3 especially, there's noticeable changes between them. And that, they're always applying different ideas. And graphically, they take these huge leaps. It's just kind of a fun experience to go through that with the Mega Man series on the NES.
So $13, December 14th, the Hyperkin, I think they call it like the 64 pin to 72 pin adapter or something ridiculous like that, but check it out.